The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Me and Bobby Louder and Mr. Yellowwood and all those Auburn Boosters, we're going on a little fishing trip for a coach. That's why I got my fishing cap on, my little Corona fishing cap. Got my specs on so I can see a good candidate out there for them as we're about to go fishing for another head coaching candidate for Auburn yet again. Let's throw it out there. I think I got one. I got one. I think I got it. I think I got it. Here it is. Here it comes. There it is. Turbo Man. Because this is the only way you're ever going to satisfy those bickering, ninny-ass, nanny boosters down on the plains. Between Mr. Yellowwood and Bobby Louder and all those other jackasses, the only way Auburn's fans are ever going to get a candidate to satisfy them jackasses is if they hire a super freaking hero in Turbo Man. Let's talk about it. Well. Here we go again wrong, like that old White Snake song that I always like to reference. That's right. I'm a big White Snake fan. One of the most underrated bands of the hair era of all time. Now, getting right to it, coaching carousel goes round and round, round and round, still going round and round. As I said a couple of weeks ago, Bryan Harsin was probably going to get fired, and he did. Auburn was waiting on them an AD, and they got one. People's like, that's what they had to do. They had to go out and get an athletic director to make this thing valid so they could do it right. Well, here's the thing. Do you really think that AD is going to have any say in all this? All that AD is, the guy they got from Mississippi State, Jim Cohen, in my estimation, he may prove me wrong, but we'll never know because he's not going to tell us. He's going to say that it was his choosing when they do find a candidate, because Auburn is as Auburn does. It's just like, with Forrest Gump. Stupid is as stupid does, right? Because this guy they're bringing in, he's going to be controlled by those boosters once again. Everybody wants to point out all the bad stuff about Bryan Harsin. The fact that he run off Bo Nix. Bo Nix said he lost his passion, lost his smile. Sound like some bullshit rip-off stuff off of Shawn Michaels back in the WWE days in the late 90s, early 2000s. And sure enough, Bryan Harsin did say some stupid shit in his press conference about a day or two ago. But I think it's because Bryan Harsin got down there and he realized that he was in a no-win situation, which is what most of these Auburn coaches have been in ever since Pat Dye and his cronies were dismissed back in the early 90s for basically cheating and doing stuff that just about everybody else does now. But ever since Pat Dye left, it's been an ongoing clown show. They run off Tommy Tuberville, who beat Alabama 6 years in a row now. No other head coach at Auburn had ever done it. I don't even think Suge Jordan beat Alabama 6 years in a row. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe I'm right. Run him off. Lost Alabama. Got blowed out by Alabama one time and run his ass off. Plus, the man had a winning record against Nick Saban. Who else can say that? Now Tommy Tuberville, well, he's like a senator or some shit in Alabama. So this clown show's been going on a while. Now, Auburn, I feel for their fans because they won a national championship not too long ago. I think it was, 2010? It seems like just yesterday to me. But Auburn won a national championship back in 2010, and they were in the national title game against Florida State in 2014. And they've been on the cusp of making the playoffs a few times since then. This is a program that, in spite of all that, all this bullshit that's been going on with the coaches and how these boosters, and from what I understand, there's like 2 or 3 factions down there that are infighting. So not only do you have a booster problem, but you have factions of boosters fighting against each other in what is probably considered a civil war amongst Auburn boosters that makes it probably a toxic situation for any coach coming in. I just can't get over it, because Auburn could be a perennial power. They could be a national championship program, contending at least year in and year out, if them goddamn boosters, excuse my language, would put the brakes on and realize, hey, I'm going to give money and donate to my program and make sure they got the facilities they need and the stuff that they need to be successful and to lure in great recruits. But I'm not going to try to dictate what coach they hire and dictate what the coach does. Sounds like 10,000 Jerry Jones running wild on the plains down in Auburn, down in Lee County, with all those barners and those barn monkeys down there. And I don't know why I'm getting upset about it, because I'm an Alabama fan. You know, them struggling like this does nothing but help Alabama. But I'm a lover of college football, and I have some good friends that are Auburn fans, and I feel for them because they don't deserve this shit. They don't deserve to have to be going through this turmoil it seems like every 4 or 5 years now. Auburn's going through some turmoil. They get some boosters, they get a coach in there that they like, and then there's another side that don't like him, so they try to undermine him to the point where the program is toxic and that coach ends up getting run off. The only way Auburn's ever going to get rid of this problem was to do the same thing that Alabama did with Nick Saban. Mal Moore basically give him the keys to the castle and told him, hey, look, you got to run all to yourself. You make your rules. And the thing is, he told him that and he actually meant it. Most of these ADs will tell a coach that, but they don't really mean it. I think that's what's going on sort of with Sarkisian out of Texas, is he was told he was going to have the keys to the castle, and yet you still got boosters interfering out there. Same thing with Auburn. You know, they had an AD that was a actual AD in Allen Green, and they run his ass off because he went out and outside the box and hired someone on his own in Bryan Harsin and satisfied a few of the boosters, but then there was a bunch of other boosters that said, hey, we wanted Kevin Steele. Why would you want Kevin Steele? Decent defensive coordinator, hit or miss. But the guy coached at Baylor, and he won I think he won like 3 or 4 games in 3 years. They wanted Kevin Steele just like a bunch of them wanted Gene Chizik back when Pat Dye was still alive. They wanted these guys because they want a puppet. They want somebody they can bend. Somebody that if they want to bring their buddies to the practice sessions that are supposed to be closed to the public, for example, well, then by God, they're going to go because, hey, we're special. It's closed to everybody else, but by God, we are Auburn football. We are Auburn athletics. I mean, the stuff they do down there, the boosters, man, is so corrupt, man. I mean, look, they hired Bruce Pearl, and he had a show cause still on him with the NCAA. But I hate to just keep ranting on this, but the only way Auburn's ever going to get where they need to be is to get rid of these boosters. And now they've got to go through another head coach. And there's numerous candidates out there, but a lot of people think that this John Cohen guy may actually try to bring in Mike Leach from Mississippi State, sort of like the AD at Central Florida did when he took Josh Heupel from Central Florida and went to Tennessee. But you're also hearing the likes of Lane Kiffin. Also heard mention of Dave Clawson from Wake Forest, who a lot of people are sort of recognized now. He's been on my list for a lot of these programs. And there's also the Deion Sanders thing that keeps popping up. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something, man. If Deion Sanders takes a job at any institution in the next year or two, he's going to prove exactly what I said as being right. And that is, he is con time, Deion Sanders. Not prime time anymore. He's con time. Because he made all this hubbubloo about, oh, I'm all about the HBCUs and lifting them up and blah, 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 blah. This ain't about me. This ain't about being famous. And we all know it's a bunch of bullshit. If Deion Sanders takes a job at Auburn or somewhere else, Nebraska or somewhere else like that, then he's been basically outing himself as the con man that I've said he is. Because if it really meant that much to him, like he said it does, then he would stick it out and try to lift up the HBCUs, like you said. Because, hell, he's already famous. He's already got money, right? It ain't about fame, right? Yeah, right. But you watch. If Deion Sanders takes a head coaching job on a higher level like that, I'm going to call his ass out. But that's basically the candidates that I'm here. But it's really not going to matter who they bring in there if they can't get this civil unrest, this civil war that's going on behind the scenes and has been, like I said, since Pat Dye was dismissed and forced out for the NCAA violations that occurred. Went through Terry Bowden. Terry Bowden went 20-0 his first 20 games. They ended up running his ass out of there because of his meddling. And like I said, you had you had Tommy Tuberville come in and beat Alabama 6 years in a row. Run his ass off because he rubbed the wrong boosters the wrong way. Bring in Gene Chizik, wins a national championship with Cam Newton. After Cam Newton leaves, we start seeing exactly what Gene Chizik's all about. Run his ass off. Bring in Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn, he's in good with a lot of the boosters on one side, but then these other boosters on this other side, they get pissed off at Gus Malzahn. Run his ass off. Bring in Bryan Harsin. Alan Green, I think it was his name. He was actually a valid AD. He tries to go outside the box, tries to do his job as an AD, bring in an outside-the-box kind of candidate in Bryan Harsin. Now to run his ass off. Paying another buyout. Where are they getting all this money, man? If I was Auburn fans, I would be really pissed off, especially the average common Joe, common Sally kind of fan. Not these rich-ass boosters. That's all I got to say about that. You guys got to know what you think. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to be the next head coach at Auburn? Y'all got some candidates for them? Not that it's really going to matter, because in 3 or 4 years, there's going to be a faction of boosters that gets pissed off and runs their ass off. And that's all I got to say about that. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.